They're panicking and they won't tell you why. You felt it, the strange tension, the sideways glances, the sudden distance from people you thought you knew. You're breaking free, finding your own path, and they see it. They see that you are no longer willing to play the role they've given you. You've stepped outside the lines, and that terrifies them. They may act concerned, pretend to worry about your decisions, or even accuse you of being selfish or rebellious. But the truth is much deeper. It's not really about you at all. It's about the cage they built around you, the cage they've lived in all their lives. You see, they crafted this cage out of their fears, insecurities, and limitations. And they locked you in, hoping you'd stay just like them, following the same rules, living by the same beliefs. But you're breaking out. You're daring to think differently, to believe in yourself and to question everything you were taught. You're challenging their reality, shaking the very foundation they stand on. They're not just afraid of losing you, they're afraid of losing the world they've always known. Your growth forces them to confront the truth. They could have escaped too, but they chose to stay. And now they're watching you do what they were too afraid to do. This isn't just about independence or rebellion. It's about shattering the illusions that kept you small. It's about seeing the cage for what it really is, a prison built from their fears, not yours. And now that you see it, they can't control you anymore. They're panicking because you're slipping out of their grasp. You're escaping the cage they locked you in, and that means they have to face the truth. They've always had the key, but they chose not to use it. You are not just breaking free. You are breaking the cycle. You're rewriting the story, and they don't know what to do. They're terrified because they can't stop you. The cage is falling apart, and they can't trap you in their fears anymore. You're free, and that's what scares them the most. If you don't break free, you will live your life according to their rules, their fears, and their limitations. You will never truly know who you are, because you will always be trying to fit into a mold that was never meant for you. They designed that mold to keep you small, to keep you predictable, to keep you just like them. If you stay, you will spend your life seeking approval from people who can't even accept themselves. Think about what that means. Every dream you have will be measured against their expectations. Every choice you make will be weighed against their opinions. Your happiness will depend on whether they approve of your life, and they will never fully approve because you are meant to grow beyond them. If you stay in the cage, you will always feel like something is missing because you will be living someone else's life, not yours. The cost is high, your potential, your happiness, your freedom. You will feel the weight of their limitations crushing your spirit, suffocating your dreams. You will live in constant fear of disappointing them, even if it means disappointing yourself. You will carry the burden of their insecurities, their fears, and their judgments. You will never feel free because you will always be trapped by their expectations. But if you break free, you will face a different kind of pain. The pain of growth, the discomfort of change, and the fear of the unknown. They will accuse you of abandoning them, of thinking you're better than them, of being selfish or ungrateful. They will try to guilt you into coming back into the cage. They will use every tactic they know because they are terrified of losing control. If you don't escape, you will live your life under their shadow, always afraid to shine too brightly, to stand too tall, or to be too different. You will shrink yourself to fit their comfort, and in doing so you will betray your soul. The cost of staying is losing yourself, but the cost of leaving is facing their anger, their disappointment, and their fear. The question is, are you willing to pay the price of freedom? Because the cage is comfortable, familiar, and predictable, but it is still a cage. If you stay, you will survive, but you will never truly live. If you leave, you will have to find your own way, but at least it will be your path, your life, and your truth. They want you to stay because it validates their choice to stay. If you leave, it forces them to confront the fact that they could have left too. That's why they're panicking. They don't want to see you live the life they were too afraid to pursue. They don't want to face the truth that the cage was never real, that the only prison is the one they built in their minds. You are not just fighting for your freedom, you are fighting to break a generational curse. You are breaking the chains of fear, guilt, and limitation that have held your family captive for generations. That is why they are panicking. That is why they are trying to pull you back. Because your freedom is a threat to their illusion of safety. The cage isn't made of steel, it's made of expectations, guilt, and fear. It's made of invisible chains that bind you to their version of reality. They created this cage to protect you, but it was also designed to control you, to make you like them, to keep you within the boundaries they find comfortable. They didn't do it out of malice. They did it out of fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of failure. Fear of losing you. They taught you to be obedient, to follow the rules, to do what's expected. They taught you to put their feelings above your own, to be the version of yourself that makes them comfortable. They did this because they needed you to conform to their idea of who you should be. But that version of you was never real. It was a mask, a role, a character in their story. And now you're breaking free because you've realized that you don't belong in their story. You have your own story to live. This cage was built from their limitations, their beliefs about what is possible, what is acceptable, and what is safe. They passed down their fears, their doubts, and their insecurities, hoping to keep you safe from the same pain they experienced. But they also passed down their limits, their restrictions, and their blind spots. They built this cage to protect you, but it also kept you small. They didn't realize that by trying to protect you, they were keeping you from becoming who you are meant to be. They didn't see that by forcing you to follow their path, they were preventing you from finding your own. They didn't understand that by keeping you in the cage, they were trapping you in a life that isn't yours. The cage is made of invisible chains, chains of loyalty, guilt, and obligation. They taught you to be loyal to the family, to honor their sacrifices, to live up to their expectations. But loyalty isn't supposed to be a prison. You can love them and still choose your own path. You can honor their sacrifices without sacrificing your own happiness. You can respect their beliefs without adopting them as your own. They locked you in the cage because they believed it was the safest place for you. But the truth is, the cage is only safe because it is familiar. It's comfortable because it's predictable. It keeps you small because that's the only way they know how to love you. But you are not meant to stay small. You are meant to grow, to explore, to live fully and freely. You are meant to break the chains, shatter the cage, and create your own life. And that's why they're panicking. Because they don't know how to love you outside the cage. They don't know how to understand you without the limits they've always known. But that's their cage, not yours. And you don't have to stay locked up just to make them comfortable. You are free to fly. They're not just panicking because you're changing. They're panicking because your change is a mirror reflecting their own fears and limitations. You see, when you start to grow, to break out of old patterns, and to think differently, it forces them to question everything they've believed in. It makes them uncomfortable because your growth exposes the cage they're still living in. Your courage to break free reminds them of their own fear of change. Your willingness to pursue your dreams shows them the dreams they gave up on. Your decision to live authentically makes them painfully aware of the masks they're still wearing. You're not just challenging the status quo, you're challenging their identity, their choices, and their comfort zone. And that terrifies them. They may lash out, criticize you, or try to pull you back, not because they hate you, but because they're afraid. Afraid of losing the version of you they've always known. Afraid of losing control over the narrative they created. Afraid of facing their own insecurities. Your freedom is a threat to their sense of security because it challenges everything they've built their lives around. They're panicking because if you can change, then it means they could have changed too. And that realization is terrifying. It forces them to confront the truth that they've been living in a cage of their own making. It forces them to see that they chose safety over freedom, comfort over growth, and fear over courage. They panic because they see you breaking generational cycles that they were too afraid to break. They see you healing wounds they were too scared to face. They see you reaching for dreams they were too afraid to dream. Your courage exposes their fear, and your freedom highlights their imprisonment. That's why they may call you selfish, rebellious, or ungrateful. It's easier to blame you than to confront their own pain. It's easier to accuse you of abandoning them than to admit that they've abandoned themselves. It's easier to shame you for changing than to admit that they're afraid of changing too. They want you to stay in the cage because it validates their choice to stay. If you break free and succeed, it will force them to face the truth they've been avoiding their whole lives. The truth that they were never truly trapped. They just chose to stay because it was easier. They're panicking because your freedom makes them question their own choices, and that's the most terrifying thing of all. When you break free, you not only liberate yourself, but also challenge their perception of reality. You shatter the illusion that life must be lived according to a fixed script. You prove that change is possible, that dreams can be pursued, and that freedom is worth the risk. Your courage to live authentically becomes a mirror reflecting their own potential, and that's both inspiring and terrifying for them. Your growth forces them to confront the parts of themselves they've buried, the dreams they gave up on, the passions they ignored, the truths they were too afraid to face. They see you stepping into your power, and it reminds them of the power they once had but chose to give away. Your light exposes the shadows they've been hiding in, and that's why they react so strongly. They see you living a life they told themselves was impossible. They see you breaking rules they thought were unbreakable. They see you thriving outside the cage they were too afraid to leave. It challenges their entire worldview. It forces them to question the limitations they've accepted, the beliefs they've held, and the choices they've made. This is why breaking free is so powerful. You become proof that they were wrong, not just about you, but about life itself. You show them that the cage was never real, that the limits were just illusions, and that the rules were meant to be broken. You become a living example of what's possible, and that terrifies them because it forces them to face their own fears. But at the same time, your growth also gives them hope. It shows them a way out of the cage, a possibility of change, a glimpse, a freedom. It challenges them to rethink their own lives and to consider the idea that they too can break free. Your courage plants a seed in their minds, a spark of inspiration that can grow into their own awakening. That's why some of them will try to pull you back. They're not ready to face the mirror. But others might quietly admire your courage, secretly hoping that they can find the strength to follow your path. Your growth is a catalyst, a ripple that creates waves of change in the people around you. You are not just escaping the cage, you are showing them the way out too. You are breaking generational patterns, challenging outdated beliefs, and setting a new standard of freedom and authenticity. You are not just changing your life, you are changing the legacy of your entire family. As you break free, guilt and fear will try to pull you back. You'll feel guilty for disappointing them, for breaking traditions, for not fitting into the mold they created for you. You'll fear their judgment, their rejection, and the possibility of being alone. They will use guilt to manipulate you because that's how they were controlled. They don't know any other way. But guilt is just a sign that you are breaking old patterns. It's proof that you are growing beyond the limits they placed on you. Feeling guilty doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means you're doing something different. It means you're choosing your own path instead of living for their approval. The fear is real and it's powerful. The fear of being alone, of being misunderstood, of losing people you love. But staying in the cage is even scarier. If you stay, you will lose yourself. You will betray your soul just to make them comfortable. You will spend your life shrinking, hiding, and pretending just to keep the peace. You don't have to choose between freedom and love. You can love them without living by their rules. You can honor their journey without sacrificing your own. You can break free without abandoning them. You are simply choosing not to abandon yourself. They will try to make you feel guilty because your freedom threatens their comfort. But remember, their discomfort is not your responsibility. Their fears are not your burden to carry. Their approval is not your purpose in life. You don't owe them your happiness. You don't owe them your freedom. You don't owe them your soul. You can love them and still say no to their limitations. You can respect them and still follow your own path. You can be loyal to your family without being loyal to their fears. Breaking free doesn't mean rejecting them. It means refusing to reject yourself. Yes, you will feel guilty. Yes, you will feel afraid. But you will also feel alive, free, and true to yourself. You will feel the joy of living authentically, the peace of following your own truth, and the power of breaking generational chains. You will inspire others to do the same. The guilt will fade, the fear will pass, but the freedom will last forever. You are breaking the cycle, escaping the cage, and writing your own story. And that is the greatest gift you can give yourself and them. Because by breaking free, you show them what true love and freedom look like. You show them what it means to live without fear. And in doing so, you set them free too. Breaking free from the cage they built means rediscovering who you truly are. For so long, you've played the role they assigned to you. The obedient child, the people pleaser, the one who follows the rules without question. You learned to hide your true self to keep the peace, to earn their love, to avoid their judgment. But that version of you was never real. It was just a mask you wore to survive. Now that you're breaking free, the mask is falling away, and your true self is emerging. This can feel terrifying because you've been conditioned to believe that who you really are isn't good enough. They made you believe that you had to be a certain way to be loved, accepted, and valued. They taught you to suppress your dreams, desires, and individuality to fit their expectations. But the truth is, you are worthy just as you are. You don't need to be anyone but yourself. Embracing your true identity means letting go of the need for their approval. It means being okay with disappointing them, with not living up to their expectations, and with choosing your own path. It means trusting yourself more than you trust their opinions. It means loving yourself enough to live your truth, even if they don't understand it. As you embrace your true identity, you will feel a newfound sense of freedom and authenticity. You will no longer feel the need to explain yourself or defend your choices. You will no longer seek validation from people who can't see your worth. You will finally understand that you don't need their permission to be who you are. They will try to pull you back because they are afraid of losing the version of you they were comfortable with. But that version of you was just an illusion. The real you is powerful, limitless, and unapologetically authentic. The real you is free. And the more you embrace your true self, the more you inspire others to do the same. You were never meant to be what they wanted you to be. You were meant to be yourself, bold, fearless, and free. This is your truth, your power, and your birthright. Embrace it, live it, and never apologize for it. Breaking free from the cage will trigger backlash and criticism because your growth disrupts the status quo. They will accuse you of being selfish, rebellious, or ungrateful because they don't understand your journey. They will project their fears onto you, trying to make you feel guilty for choosing yourself. They will judge you because they don't know how to love you outside of the box they put you in. But their criticism is not about you. It's about them. It's about their fear of change, their discomfort with your freedom, and their struggle to control what they don't understand. They don't hate you. They hate the loss of power over you. They don't resent you. They resent the reflection of their own limitations. You must learn to protect your peace. Don't engage in arguments or try to explain yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You don't owe them an explanation for your growth, your dreams, or your freedom. You don't need their approval to live your truth. Criticism is just noise. It's a distraction meant to pull you back into the cage. It's a test of your commitment to yourself. If you allow their words to control you, then you're giving them power over your life. If you take their opinions personally, then you're still trapped by their expectations. Stay grounded in your truth. Surround yourself with people who celebrate your growth, who encourage your freedom, and who see your worth. Find your tribe, the ones who understand the courage it takes to break generational patterns and who support you even when it makes them uncomfortable. Learn to love them from a distance. You can love them without letting their fears dictate your choices. You can respect them without conforming to their beliefs. You can forgive them without allowing them to control you. Protect your peace by staying true to yourself, even if it means losing their approval. Their judgment does not define you. Their criticism does not limit you. Their fears do not imprison you. You are free, and no amount of backlash can take that away from you. Stand firm in your power, protect your peace, and keep moving forward. Breaking free is just the beginning. Now it's time to build a life that reflects your true self, your dreams, and your purpose. It's time to create a new reality where you are no longer confined by their limitations, fears, or expectations. It's time to live life on your own terms. This is your chance to redefine everything, to discover what makes you happy, what fulfills you, and what makes you feel alive. You are no longer bound by their rules or beliefs. You are free to explore, to experiment, and to create a life that resonates with your soul. Start by envisioning the life you truly want. What does freedom look like to you? What dreams have you been hiding? What passions have you been suppressing? What life would you live if you weren't afraid of judgment? Imagine it, feel it, and then start building it. This won't be easy because you will have to unlearn everything they taught you. You will have to break free from the old narratives, limiting beliefs and fears they planted in you. You will have to step out of your comfort zone and embrace the unknown. But it's worth it because you are building a life that is truly yours. Surround yourself with people who support your journey, who inspire you to grow, and who believe in your dreams. Let go of toxic relationships that drain your energy, stifle your growth, and keep you small. You deserve to be surrounded by love, support, and positivity. Take risks, make mistakes, and learn from them. Give yourself permission to fail and to try again. This is your journey, and there is no right or wrong way to live it. Trust yourself, follow your intuition, and create a life that makes you proud. You are not just escaping the cage, you are building a new reality. You are rewriting your story, reclaiming your power, and living life on your own terms. You are free, and this is just the beginning. You were never meant to stay in the cage they built. You were never meant to live according to their fears, limitations, or expectations. You were born to be free, to grow, to explore, and to live authentically. You were born to break the chains of fear, guilt, and obligation that have held your family captive for generations. They're panicking because they see you breaking the cycle. They're afraid because they don't understand your journey. They're resisting because your freedom threatens their comfort. But that is their burden to bear, not yours. You don't owe them your dreams. You don't owe them your freedom. You don't owe them your soul. You are free to be who you are, to live your truth and to pursue your purpose. You are free to escape the cage and to create a life that resonates with your soul. Breaking free is not easy, but it is worth it. It requires courage, resilience, and a deep commitment to yourself. It means facing your fears, embracing your truth, and standing firm in your power. It means choosing yourself, even when it makes them uncomfortable. You are not just breaking free, you are setting yourself free. You are rewriting the story, breaking generational curses, and creating a new legacy. You are proof that freedom is possible, that change is real, and that dreams are worth pursuing. Your courage is the key, and your truth is the way. Keep breaking free, keep growing, and keep shining. The world needs your light, your truth, and your power, and no cage can hold you back. You are free, now go live like it.